Hello and welcome into this week's edition of Intercollegiate Conversations, as we're pleased to be joined by assistant men's basketball coach at Rice University, Chris Kreider, for this week's conversation. Chris, appreciate the time, and let's just jump in. I want to ask you, how'd you get your start in coaching at the collegiate level?
Yeah, I think it's year 23 of coaching. Was fortunate to have multiple experiences along the way. Was a high school coach, both on the boys and girls side for 3 years. And then I just kind of got the itch to try to do this Division One thing. My path was a little unique in that I had to volunteer to get my foot in the door, which can sometimes be the case. And one of my previous college coaches, Vince Alexander, was the head coach at USC Aiken, and he allowed me that opportunity. And that 1 year volunteering at USC Aiken uh, really kind of lit the fire even more. And then Paul Hewitt, when he was at Georgia Tech, allowed me one more year of volunteering. And then from there, the rest kind of the dominoes fell.
Certainly, and now at Rice for the second time. I want to ask you, obviously, as a coach in college athletics, there's been so much change since when you first broke in terms of name, image, likeness, transfer portal, conference realignment, all that stuff. But I want to focus more in on your like day-to-day job as a coach. Have you seen a lot of change there over the years, or even so with all these changes, is coaching college basketball kind of remain the same when it comes to your day-to-day practice, dealing with players, all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, your day to day is very similar. I think one this time of year, one noticeable difference than when I first got in the business was you were spending a lot more time out on the road recruiting during the season, recruiting high school guys. You're still trying to get out, stay connected with, young underclassmen that are coming up and staying connected with high school programs and coaches. But back in the day, you were out really recruiting, right now in this year, 26s and trying to recruit 25s that are going to sign late. But now with the portal, everything's just so different. So, just talk, listening and kind of watching how the landscape has evolved, I think that's the case. There's less of that. But the day to day, yeah, right now it's a practice, game prep. You're in the heart of your conference season. So this time that way is very similar. And then it's still, about developing and maintaining relationships with your players and getting the most you can out of them.
What would you tell your 21-year-old self who was first getting into coaching? What would you tell them then that you have since learned and know now that maybe would have helped you out or made things easier as you got into this career?
Yeah, I think I got a piece of advice from a friend of mine. He said, what level or what type of situation do you want to maybe be at in 5 to 10 years? And he said, try to get to that level, uh, and get your foot in the door and meet people that are connected at that level. So did you want to be at the Division 3 side? I had played Division 3. Do you want to be at the Division 1 level? Do you want to be a high school coach? I do think there's something to be said for just get to the level that you really want to spend time at because the worlds are so different a lot of times. But the biggest thing that I always try to do is just be myself. I got that advice early, and I would still do that again. And so I would do a lot of the same things, just knowing that this profession can has some traps in it where you maybe try to take some shortcuts. It's very competitive, but I do think if you stay true to yourself, do the right thing, obviously you can't go wrong.
You mentioned how competitive it is, certainly. How important, therefore, are relationships and networking when it comes to coaching in college athletics and trying to continue to climb the ladder and get those next opportunities?
Yeah, I would say very important. They always say who you know gets you there and what you know keeps you there. You do have to have a certain level of expertise within the field, in this in coaching and on the court, things like that. But you have to have a network. You have to be authentic in those relationships. There is something to be said, but people hire who they trust. There's been multiple times in my career where there has been no interview. It was more the interview was already done, and that's how a lot of head coaches, end up hiring their assistants, and so a lot of it is, relationship based.
With that said, when it comes to coaching college basketball, from your experience or people you know that have worked alongside you in the industry, do job boards play a role when it comes to hiring coaches in college basketball, or is it mostly those relationships and kind of word of mouth?
Yeah, I think it's a mixture. I do think on the entry level, uh, at that point in your career, I remember, you always want to know what's going on. That is, even at my stage, you want to know in the landscape because it's always changing. But whether it's what jobs are available for me to be able to help one of our young guys, our young GAs move on. And so, if I do see something on a job board, I know that head coach, those entry level positions, there are that's where that stuff really comes in handy. After that, head coaches like to like we talked about, you hire who you trust, who you know, or someone that knows that person well. And then from there, it's your reputation. And, that is another big thing in this profession. You only get one reputation, and, that's what follows you throughout, your journey.
We always encourage everyone to check out intercollegiate.co. It's the most comprehensive job board in college athletics, but it's more than just a job board. We're building this community within the college athletics community. It's almost becoming like a form of a social network as well. I know you spent a little bit of time on Intercollegiate. Just wanted to ask you your thoughts on in terms of the user experience, the ease of which it took to use the website. Just your overall thoughts on the experience of checking out Intercollegiate.
Yeah, when I came across it, I thought it was very interesting concept. I think, anytime you can connect people within the space, in coaching, I think, I love meeting new people and getting to know people. And I do think the content, it was clean, it was presentable, it had a cool, look to it, but it also hit the mark when it comes to things that could be helpful in this industry.
I want to ask you because you have worked for a number of great programs throughout your career as any coach, you move around. For you, how do you know what qualities do you look for to know that program, that school, that's the right fit for me and my family?
Yeah, it's just like anything else at the end of the process, as you look at different opportunities, you're going to go with your gut, right? But, for me, it's all about, working alongside someone with a perspective about, basketball being this game that we love and it's our livelihood, and winning is obviously the goal, but there's more things to it. It's bigger than basketball to me, is how I view it. It's a way that we can help these young men become the best version of themselves on the court, but also off the court. So, for me, it's someone that has a family that leans into family as well. My wife Heather and my daughter Livia. Our family is important to us, and so you can get consumed within this coaching life. And to me, the ultimate is the perspective that a head coach can have, on an everyday basis.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I hear that from a lot of coaches about it's not just about coaching basketball. Of course, all basketball coaches, that's your passion. You love that. But it's also about trying to help, these young men or young guys become these great men and adults. So how important is that passion of not only the X's and O's of basketball, but also working with these young kids and trying to help shape, the next era of adults for the country?
No, it's why we all got into this, coaching at every level. I haven't, I've played and coached at a lot of different levels, minus professional basketball, but I imagine even there, relationships matter. You can coach them harder when they know you care about them and that, they see what you're doing to help them on the court. But yeah, it's just, LeBron James, Michael Jordan, the best players to ever do it, their career comes to an end, and there's a lot of time after that point. And so, what are we doing in college now, just helping these guys get ready for that point, when it's life after basketball?
Are you Team LeBron or Team Jordan?
I'm gonna have to go with MJ just because of when I came up and, watching him back when I played. I think, I'll definitely say MJ on that one.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Not to start any controversial debates with that
That's
soundbite.
always a heated one in the locker room. That's always the GOAT debate.
I could imagine. Before I let you go, let me put you on the spot for the last couple of ones. Give you a chance first to brag about yourself. What would you say are the most important traits that have allowed you to be successful throughout your coaching career?
I would just say, just always, just trying to have that perspective I was talking about. I would think that is something I've really tried to lean into. Work ethic, as a player and also as a coach, I feel like that's my only chance to have any kind of success. So just, working hard at whatever the job is, and then just always being loyal, being about the program first. It's always about what's best for, in this case here at Rice, Coach Lanier and our program. So just leaning into those three things.
And what's the best piece of advice you think you've ever been given? You've already mentioned some good advice that was shared to you throughout your career, but What would you say is the best piece of advice you've ever been given in your life or career that you feel like you still apply today as a college coach?
Yeah, however you want to frame it, it's bigger than basketball. I just do think, a lot of times this lifestyle of coaching, especially now with social media and cell phones and recruiting and playing games and practice, it can be literally 24 hours a day if you let it. It can consume you, and then you forget about just the bigger picture. So, I learned that early on from my parents, and I would just say that's the biggest thing. Just but life is more than this game, and we can use it to learn a lot of things.
All right, let's end on just a couple of quick hitters. As whether it was when you were a college player or now as a college coach, any superstitions you have for game day?
No superstitions, but definitely have to have a cup of coffee before the game now.
Any sort of music you're listening to get ready for game or even practice?
Yeah, I would say, we have a GA that's really good on the aux, as they say. So whatever he puts on there, I'm good with right now.
We already talked about Michael Jordan. Is there any player in the history of basketball that you would love to have the opportunity to coach?
Yeah, I would say him. If the object is to win, I'm taking him any day.
Say I'm coming over for dinner. What is the meal you feel most comfortable preparing for guests?
Something easy on the grill. I'm very that's all anybody would want me to cook. So chicken or steak.
I don't know if you've ever done karaoke, but do you have a go-to karaoke song? Or if you had to sing karaoke, is there a song off the top of your head that you say, yeah, you know what, that's the one I feel comfortable doing?
No song. I actually would leave the room. I'd walk the other way. If it was my turn, nobody wants to hear that. I promise you.
Lastly, who's been the biggest role model for you in your life or your career?
Biggest role model would definitely be, my parents, my mom and dad, owe a lot to them, the sacrifices they made, just, as a player coming up, all that goes into that, and then just the support over the years.
A big thank you to Chris Kreider, the associate head basketball coach at Rice University for the men's team, for taking the time out to join us in this week's edition of Intercollegiate Conversations. And a big thank you to you as well for taking the time out to watch this video. We ask that you subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you don't miss any future conversations or content. Feel free to follow us on X as well to find even more content over there on social media. We also suggest that you check out intercollegiate.co. It's the most comprehensive job board out there, and it's even more than a job board. It's a networking opportunity for those in college athletics. Until next time, life's just a series of hellos and goodbyes. So for now, we say goodbye.